My name is Anthony Becerra. I am an eye bank coordinator here at Donor Network of Arizona. Today we'll be performing a DMEK procedure, which stands for a Descemet's membrane endothelial keratoplasty. So before we do the procedure, any endothelial keratoplasty, it all starts here at DNA. We prepare all the tissue for the procedures, so by the time the surgeon gets to the OR, their main focus can be on the patient and make sure everything goes clean. In the first step, what I will be doing is I will be taking this Y hook, and I will be scoring the Descemet's membrane 360 degrees to separate from the posterior stroma. I have placed trypan blue on the cornea, and that will allow me to see where the Descemet's membrane has separated and give me an idea of what I'm working with as far as any stress or defects on the cornea itself. So with this being a research tissue, this donor was deemed not suitable for transplant due to something that was found during the medical record review or the eval. So as you can see, there's additional stress that you normally would not see on a transplant cornea, but what you can see that is good is the nice blue score line, which means the Descemet's membrane has completely separated. So what I'll do now is take the microfinger and go 360 degrees just to lightly lift it up to ensure that it is completely lifted before I completely remove it. And now that I have confirmed that it is completely removed 360 degrees, I will remove it all and leave it attached in a 1 by 1 millimeter square in the center. Here at Donor Network of Arizona, we use the SCUBA technique, which stands for submerged cornea under backgrounds away. It allows the blue and the pink to contrast very well against each other to allow us to better view if there's any defects or tears that occurred during this process. Again, I'm going to be removing the Descemet's membrane and the endothelium from the posterior stroma. And to give you an idea of how thin this is 18 microns, which is 10 times thinner than a piece of paper that is just laying flat on the table. So this is a very fragile tissue, and we have to make sure that we don't cause any rips or tears, otherwise this cornea would not be suitable for transplant. And now that it is completely removed 360 degrees, what we will do now is we will place an S marking on the Descemet's membrane, and this allows for better view in the anterior chamber of the patients during surgery. This allows the surgeons to know whether the graft is upside down or right side up, and they can move forward. So to do that without causing much additional stress, we apply a 2.0 millimeter porthole through the posterior stroma all the way through to allow us access once we fold the graft back over. Now that we have access, we'll fold the graft back over and lay it back down flat so I have access to the Descemet's membrane. I am applying an S stamp onto the Descemet's membrane. It's basically tattooing the cornea. So very lightly I will place this on there so I do not cause any additional stress to the endothelium. Once we have the S, we will remove this, and then we will actually pre-punch this graft to the surgeon's specified size. So we'll place this on this punch block, and because we scored so far in the periphery, about 2 millimeters inside the limbus, it gives us ample enough space for us to make this graft 8 millimeters. So we place a very sharp blade in there and just apply just enough pressure to make sure that it separates from the posterior stroma. And just like in the beginning when we did the score line, I can see where the blade actually was, and I can begin to remove the excess Descemet's membrane without removing the graft itself. Now, depending on surgeon preferences, it has become popular for us to actually preload the graft for the surgeons. So by the time they get it, all they have to do is place the tubing that we give them onto a 5 cc syringe and inject into the patient's eye. After separation, the graft will scroll tightly into its natural form with endothelium side out. So what we'll do is we will now remove the graft completely from the posterior stroma and place the graft into trypan blue to allow it to stain. The surgical wicks will take out any excess trypan blue to prevent any contamination or toxicity. And now I will take the graft and place it in the trypan blue, or in the Optisol, to allow it to go into its natural form and scroll tightly on its own. This can take anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes, so we just allow it to scroll on its own. So we do not cause any additional damage. Thank you, sir. Once it is securely in the Jones tube, we will remove the excess tubing and use the hemostat to place it in to the Krollman chamber for shipment. And I don't know if you guys can see it on the camera, but that is the S that is on the graft. And this is how the surgeon will get it, and it's ready for transplantation.